Good evening and welcome to the August 5th meeting of the Waxahachie Groves Town Council. Could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Browning.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gerald.
Here.
Councilman Golden.
Here.
Councilman Liang. Councilman Rocket.
Here.
Okay, if you would stand for the pledge, remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, again, we ask for wisdom and guidance. We pray for those that are serving our country overseas and watch over them. And just thank you for the rain, but Lord, thank you we don't have a hurricane. We pray in your name. Amen. Amen. All right, I'll entertain a motion. Any additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept it.
Mayor, one, not a correction, but just an addition, a minor addition. Under consent agenda, item C, we list the meetings that are coming up relative to the budget. On September 11, 2014, we failed to add the solid waste public hearing. Just wanted to point that out for everybody.
Okay, we'll need that under the privileged consent agenda. So we're just under the regular agenda right now. I'll let the record state that Ryan Lang is here.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask that we, on presentations, that we switch A and B.
Okay, and which one?
Number 4, presentations.
Okay.
We could just switch the order so we have a little more time to talk about the budget.
All right, everybody all right with that? Okay. So with the one correction, if someone will make a motion to accept the agenda.
Make a motion to accept the agenda as
Okay, Tom has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. Further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Moving to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask that we just talk a little bit about the September meetings, these items C under the consent agenda?
Sure.
If you need to, make sure they seem to fit.
Do we want to pull that out of the consent agenda?
We can just cover right after.
Okay.
And then just pass it that week out.
All right. Okay. We're fine with that. All right. Question on the meetings. Mark, what were you going to say about?
Right. What I was indicating, Mayor, is on September 11th, we have the regular town council meeting, tentative millage and budget, and what we didn't have in there is also the public hearing for the solid waste. And that's also considered your first regular town meeting, so we're trying to keep that one light. We hope to do most of the regular item business on September 16th, which would be your second regular town council meeting of that month. And then September 23rd would be the final public hearing, final millage and budget.
All right. So we're getting off of the Tuesdays.
Well, we had to move it due to the other entities when they're having their public hearings on the budget.
All right.
We have to work around the school district. And
All right. So what days are those?
the 11th is a Thursday. The 16th is
Tuesday.
The other two are Tuesdays.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
My question was, if I may, Mr. Mayor, if we have the 11th meeting, which we have to have on the 11th. Can we have our first meeting of the month on the prior Tuesday, and then make that a very abbreviated meeting because it's a Thursday night? And then have a regular meeting on the 23rd, and not have the 16th. No, 16th, we gotta pick the whole new date and the whole new contract. So I thought we had, I'm not sure why we skipped the first meeting, maybe because we're gonna have one following week on the 11th, so why have one on the prior week?
Well, we didn't really skip it. The 11th is a regular town council meeting, but we're trying to keep it the agenda light,
Why would the 11th be for
Well,
first?
that's the second.
because we're combining it with the tentative Middleton budget. I didn't think you wanted to meet 4 times in September, that's all.
No, we're not gonna make four, maybe make it three, but then only very short.
Well, you have to have the 11th and the 23rd. Those are the scheduled dates in order to meet our requirements and to also be consistent with the other agencies.
Okay, we carved that activity out, just as we've identified it, village budget, and I presume anything with the budget that the council wants to take up, done the prior week if we have to. And make it a short meeting, and of course, that's our public hearing meeting. It could be short and sweet, and I think, and then revert to our next, our regular schedule, so it'll be first Tuesday, third Tuesday, and we throw in the 11th as also, you know, by the way.
I do have an issue with the 11th. If it's a Thursday night, I can't make it on Thursday night.
Well, the 11th is not one, the 11th is kind of a set date we have to meet. I'm not asking the 11th to be changed.
Yeah, we talked last time,
At
we
least 2
said,
people will be here.
Right, we're just saying that if 2 of us are here, you still got 3, but that's what you've got.
You need 3 members of the council to be here to constitute a quorum for a meeting.
Okay. Well, that's when you're doing a lot of budget stuff, so your call.
Well, what I'm thinking is, Mr. Mayor, that we put any of the budget discussions that we have left on a regular first meeting of the month on Tuesday, so you have all 5 people here. Get through it, and the council can vote approval for the budget at that time. And you don't have any more to discuss, and that helps streamline the 11th meeting, which I think is a formality. It's not formality, it's something we have to do, but it's pretty much dictated to us.
Right.
So if we could do the second on a regular, I think a regular date would have been the second, is that Tuesday the second?
well, here's the constraint. We had to put that into trim notes when we were gonna meet. That's why we talked about it. The one issue we had was the date, we indicated the 9th, and that was incorrect, it was the 11th.
On the 11th, we're gonna meet on the 11th, no question.
Yes, right.
Okay, so what about the second and then the,
If you want to move your regular meetings around to have the second meeting fall on the 23rd with the final military budget, then that would open up the month for you to have your first regular meeting whenever you want.
is the 23rd has to be a date we meet? Can we do on the 24th, we're gonna do on the 23rd, on the 16th?
The 11th and the 23rd are essentially set due to the budgeting schedules of other agencies the town has no control over. So those 2 meetings really are firm under the statutes. You have some flexibility as to your regular council meetings where the budget can be discussed, but the public hearings required by law need to be on the 11th and the 23rd is set.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. When we first discussed it, it was the 9th and not the 11th.
Right, okay.
So that's where there wasn't a conflict on that. So, you know, when it came up, it was changed. That's what I have a conflict.
Well, the council agreed, and we set our first meeting September 2nd, and we then have the 11th, which is abbreviated only to discuss the items that we have to talk about that night, and then we have to do it on the 23rd. If that's
So you're saying September 2nd, September 11th, September 23rd, that's what you're
Yeah, no more than the list you already have, and hopefully abbreviate the information that we have to cover on Thursday night.
We'll eliminate the September 16th.
Is that okay with everybody?
That's fine with me. I have a question for Joe. Assuming we have 3 people here, do they all have to vote the same in order for the budget to pass?
You would
2 to 1?
2 to 1 would go past.
Is 2 to 1 acceptable in the charter?
Majority, I'd have to confirm with the charter, typically would take a majority of the quorum of the members in the room to pass the item. So unless there's something specific in the lot statute charter which I can review, but under normal circumstances, under Robert's rules, it would take a majority of the quorum in the room.
I believe we probably should review that, only because I think it does say that you have to have a majority of the total.
All right,
The other question, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
relative to Tom's point. If on the 2nd of September, the council approves the budget and approves the millage, does that change anything we do on the 11th, except we do another vote on the millage?
The issue is the public hearings that are required by statute that need to occur on the 11th and the 23rd. So if the council could take a perfunctory vote on the 11th as an expression of interest of the council's intent, but a formal vote would need to occur by law on the 11th and on the 23rd.
I got you. So we have a vote, we could have a meeting in a second, the council, and then the 11th and 23rd are dictated to us.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give us a meeting
All
before
right,
we actually
so
have that.
so is everybody all right with changing the dates, the 2nd, the 11th, and the 23rd? Okay? All right, so we're changing those dates, and with that change, including that change, I need a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda.
Now, that would be as amended.
As amended, yes.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Brian makes a motion to accept it as amended. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Jim. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving to public comments. I've got Jerry Werman. Is that right?
Yes. Thank you. My name is Jerry Werman, Wastewise Limited, and I'm here this evening to discuss with the town council their interest in having me present a plan to the town that might help in resolving the problems you had continually about mixed barn waste and manure. I know you've taken some action yourself to prohibit the haulers of bringing outside material into Loxahatchee Groves, but by the same token, that doesn't provide a lot for the residents of Loxahatchee Groves. And would like you to consider the possibility of having me present a business plan to you that would accommodate that. And by that I mean that we would be able to find a location within Loxahatchee Groves that would be established just for the purpose of servicing the needs of the residents of Loxahatchee Groves in disposing of their mixed barn waste, their vegetative waste, and even food waste. And we'd accomplish that in a way that is different than what some of the other people have presented to you. Basically, we want to do that in a more agricultural manner of composting and anaerobic digestion, and end up with a product called biochar that would be a benefit to the residents of Loxahatchee Groves that would want to use it for agricultural purposes. It has a lot of unique benefits, such as citrus greening. The greening problem that they've had, University of Florida and the FDA have done some experimental work on it to show how this biochar has taken steps to relieve that problem. And the same could be done in a lot of other ways here. So my request tonight would be whether the commission would be willing to listen to a business plan of this type or not. And if you would, I'd like to present it formally at some future meeting.
And you're only talking dealing with the waste that is
I'm only talking
generated
dealing with the
in
waste
Loxahatchee.
generated within Loxahatchee Groves. There's nothing coming in as a dumping ground for Wellington or the acreage or anything else.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, future meeting. Anybody all right with it? Want to hear it?
I would think initially, maybe you want to speak to Jim Fleischman, I want to see, if you can identify what specific issues in the ULDCs would be, be prohibited to him, so he could tell specifics rather than just, in generalities. I think that would be a step forward. I wouldn't mind.
I
It'd be good
appreciate
to-
the comment and suggestion that I have been in discussion with Mr. Fleischman and sort of given him an overview of what we have in mind, and I think he is of the opinion that if the commission was in favor of it, that we could present something that might be of interest to the town.
We would listen. My biggest concern is that I wouldn't want you starting a business and then say, oh gee, there's not enough generated out here that's not being already used. you know.
No, I
Our heart
understand.
is that
We don't want to
people
go
would
through
be
any
able to
motions
provide
either.
for neighbors and things like that.
No, I've done some preliminary due diligence on that.
Okay, all right. I think we'd be willing to hear you, so we
Sure,
just
thank
that
you.
in the future. Okay. Thank you. Keith Harris?
Yes, Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. Just like to remind town council of an issue. At our last meeting, Mr. Mayor, you indicated you weren't interested in seeing a 20% increase in taxes. Councilman Rocket indicated he likes to trim our budget by having less expenditures. I know that Vice Mayor Gerald wants to help the residents of collecting Canal Road. Back in April 15th, Mr. Brian McNeil of B Road suggested alternatives to POSM. We had a report that I gave to a joint session of BRUCAG and Planning and Zoning, as well as Town Council in early May. And May 20th workshop, Mr. Mayor, you indicated you were excited about hearing about POSM alternatives. At the July 14th Water District meeting, I asked if they were researching the issue, and they said no, they weren't aware of it. And I would like very much if town would get with the district in either a IGC meeting or otherwise to discover the possibilities, as there are alternatives that are less costly, have longer lifespans, and might be able to help the situation at hand. Won't hurt the budget, to help the people collecting Canal Road deal with their dust and washboard. So I'll bring it up to you.
Thank you. And Jeff Miller?
Thank you for your time. Jeff Miller, 691 Hyde Park, Biloxi. I come to you to talk about the power issue. I'll give you the dates real quick. July 6th on a Sunday, massive storm came through. Power was out from 6 p.m. till 11 at night. FPL said major power line down. Completely understandable at that point. It is what it is with storms out here we had. But then it continued into the following weekend on Friday, July 11th, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., said that they were repairing the down line, the main power line. So and what I got from them, from FPL, is they were coming back to additionally repair those power lines. Power came back on at 8 o'clock at night. Saturday, July 12th, the power went back off again at 11 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. in the evening. At that time, I started chasing down the trucks to see what's going on, because you can't get a straight answer from FPL on those recorded lines, or even if you speak to somebody in Texas on a Saturday, because they don't care what's going on here. So it turns out it's really the power lines going through people's properties. When I went down Hyde Park Road to the end, where they were working, these power lines directly go into the middle of the trees. There isn't an easement, there's no roadway, nothing that FPL can get down through there to cut those trees. We've been dealing with the power going off and on for the past couple of years, and I don't know if it's the town, if it's the residents, if it's FPL, or is there a liaison between all of us to get this situated, because that right there is too much power outage to deal with when we have half of our utilities deal with our water and our hot water. It's hard to survive in our houses with kids and deal with this issue with the power. So I've tried doing my side, and I get nowhere with FPL. It just goes up and down, back and forth, supervisor, and I just want to find out where the town needs to go to get something done. Whose responsibility is it to get these power lines done? And, you know, we live out here because we like the isolation and the seclusion, but the overgrown plants in some people's yards, it just becomes difficult for other people on the road. And also in addition to the power issue is still the Nicollet Canal issue with the dust and the paving and the safety of that road. I still believe that we should move forward on paving that road, as was promised back in 2012 when it was voted on and where the money went to and why it's being changed hands now to something else for what other maintenance issues this town may have, but our family's in support of that, and please consider discussing this again, not just changing your mind and going some other direction.
Robert Austin.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
I believe when we do get the exotic vegetation ordinance, that it will include easements, and I also know that Mr. Shaiela was working with FPL on behalf of trying to get them to get more crews in here, but, you know, FPL does what FPL wants, not necessarily what we want.
Yeah.
And we're not, you know, we don't have a lot of leverage either, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's only 26 people in that, and it's not many people for FPL to even concerned about, but that very same storm on Sunday across the street, the Austins had their transformer hit. They were right there on it because it was accessible and easy, because he's clear right to that transformer. Back in the back, it's a mess, it's a great mess back
Yeah,
there.
I appreciate your comment.
Yeah, and it's something we probably need to, we all the time get calls from them saying, is there anything we can do to help you? And I think we need to follow up on that. We've got an issue even, you know, I hear of people that are having a problem with AT&T along the same line.
Yeah, AT&T actually is worse. We had a fire on my road, and the electric line burned away, and it was replaced within a couple hours, but the AT&T is still laying on the ground. When somebody goes to cut the grass, there won't be a line in. But that's how they work.
Yeah, those two need a call from our town. All right.
Possibly, Mr. Mayor, if we can ask our liaison to maybe be a little more specific with the situation, possibly next, at a future
Give us
meeting
an
on
update.
that, and give us, you know, with the specifics on the problem that
Would
happened.
like to invite Mr. Macon or something?
Yes.
Yeah, FPL and AT&T. You know, we have concerns with both.
Well, we have a, our liaison you know, for FPL, we have contacts with him. I'm sure he'd be interested in.
We get a phone call to both of them, but anyway. Okay. Robert?
We're Austin, Hyde Park, Collecting Canal, 19-year resident out here. As I said before, I moved here for dirt roads, but back then they were sugar sand. Folsom wasn't paved. I remember when they went to pave Folsom, they gave us what was supposed to be a temporary bridge at that road, Collecting Canal. After they finished paving Folsom, I went to the water district and asked them why we're not removing that bridge, because when all the residents, not our residents, but Acre residents found out about that bridge, they were come flying down E Road to cut over that bridge. They said they weren't going to take that bridge out because it was a free gift from the county. Fine, and they said that back then there was discussion about Deogen and paving the roads and everything. That road got done, spoke with Ron, said we're going to get Collecting Canal done. This was a few years ago, just waiting for other things to fall in place. If they were waiting for the office building to get finished, they're going to run Collecting Canal along with finishing that road connector along with Whitey Young's property. That's done. We had that $950,000, I believe, allotted for it. I think we have a $1.8 million budget, we have 3.4 in reserves. What we're waiting for. I don't understand. It's gonna take a long time.
I think part of the problem that we're all looking at is how do we pay for it? In other words, we can't take a half or a third of our budget on one road because you're going to have a lot of other residents out here saying, what about mine too?
Well, they paved North Road, you paved all these other roads.
Yeah, but North Road is a little different situation, but anyway, and you're right, but
Well,
yeah.
the money is budgeted, and we have this huge reserve, it's more than our budget, I mean,
Yeah, right, and we can do like every other town and run out of money, and then the taxes just go up, so. But anyway, thank you. I got Dan, Huner, on there?
I have some figures to help, council what I'm about to figure.
motion received and
Second. We have a motion to receive, file, second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, same sign.
My name is Dan Miller. I live at 2150 E Road, Loxahatchee, been there for the last 14 years. If you take a quick look at the figure, I think everything will follow very easily. What you're looking at is a 20-acre parcel of land off of E Road, and it's divided into 4 equal 5-acre parcels. The north 10 acres is owned by one individual. The southeast corner is my property, and my neighbor is on the southwest corner. you take a look, there's a red box that delineates a road easement, comes on an E road back into the private property. We, all of us, all the landowners are interested in fencing their property. And that means putting a fence along the red lines and leaving the road easement for the purpose of a road. What happened is my neighbor on the north side filled in their pond. If you take a look at the pond on the south is green, algae, and the one on the north is black from tannins. She filled in the pond in order to be able to put her fence along the red line. Well, she filled it in within the road easement. I understood, according to the ULDC, that she needed a permit to do that. So I requested that the code enforcement take a look at it. They said, yes, indeed, she needs to get a permit. However, there are no criteria for the staff to evaluate how to fill in a pond. In this particular situation, she's filled in a pond, and if a heavy truck drives upon it, it will cave in and go into the pond along with the truck. Now, if it was her property in the middle of the property, I wouldn't be concerned about it. But my neighbor and I are legally liable for anything that happens on that right of way, because it's a private road. So there's no code enforcement to protect my neighbor and myself from faulty construction. So the reason I'm here is to petition the board to give staff resources to develop criteria on how to fill in a pond. Specifically, if it's going to be used for a right-of-way.
Okay, I think there's already criteria. We just follow the state and county. You're not allowed to put vegetation. There's certain rules and regulations. There has to be a permit. And I think that's all done by South Florida Water Management, if I'm not mistaken, or EPA 1. But that's something that would be under their code.
Well, you're right, Mayor. Normally, South Florida Water Management District, the Department of Environmental Management through the county. I think the issue here, though, is the code, our code does not, either by reference, indicate any of these adopted procedures. So I think what Mr. Honor is saying is, yes, somebody could come in, request a permit, but we could have our engineers look at it, but again, there is no specific criteria. Even if you're going to do a code violation, what would be the violation? What requirement? Unless it's either adopted by reference or you have the requirements enumerated in the code. So.
All right. Something we're probably going to need to look into. Tom?
I think one of the operative situations here, as she's suggested, is it's a private road and a private easement, and it's a civil matter relative to the enforcement of that easement, and not necessarily a matter for government to intrude. And while I do understand your point relative to filling in a pond with material that's not structural and then having someone consider that a road, that would probably be something, though, really that it's up to you all to address with her versus the town doing that for you.
Well, I didn't mention this before, but I'm already suing her because she's not allowing us to use the easement on her property. And then she goes along and does this on top of it. So I'm wondering, what does code enforcement good for? If you build something on your own property, that's private property. Yet there are codes on how to deal with that, the construction. I'm saying that this is exactly the same thing. This is private property.
If she filled a wetlands and it's considered a jurisdictional wetlands by the South Florida Water Management District, she's probably in a lot of trouble. And that would be somebody you might want to address. We don't have jurisdiction relative to filling in a pond, so to create criteria for it would be something where we intrude in an area where it's not our responsibility or our regulatory right. We can't regulate that. We can't make new strict water rules stricter than or even
The state.
in conflict with the state.
That's already a position in place.
We can't say you can fill in the wetlands. That's up to the South Florida Water Management District. Everybody who does construction has to get a permit from them for that, or be considered exempt by them. The town or the Palm Beach County doesn't regulate that. They only look for compliance.
So that would mean that every time someone fills in a pond in Loxahatchee, they need to go to South Florida Water Management District for filling in a wetland.
If it's a jurisdictional wetlands, there's people in this room who have gotten in trouble with South Florida Water Management because they filled in what anyone else would consider just a drainage ditch.
All right, Ron?
People have gotten in trouble for killing cypress trees. You know, things happen.
So the council says this is a civil matter, it's not,
That's what I mean.
Private property, yes. But there might be a violation regarding the you know, whatever federal or state
Regulations apply. Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm just saying we can't do anything about it. We don't have a rule that says you can't do this, but South Florida Water Management definitely has rules against filling wetlands. There's no doubt of that.
and there's no need for the town to get a permit, to have them apply for a permit if you're filling in a pond. Unless you go to the town, you ask him that you have to get a permit, and then the town goes to the Water Management District to follow up on.
I'm not saying the entire permitting process makes sense, and I'm on record as saying that the ULDCs are, the mechanics of them may not work, and this is probably one of the situations where that's the case. We don't permit that. That's not our, I mean, we've discussed filling in ponds before, and no one's ever said, oh, here's the permit, so.
Right. The issue, though, is the actual ULDC does require that they submit a permit to the town. But after that, it's kind of silent as to what happens.
All right.
That's what it's-
So could I ask the town to follow through with the Water Management District, since they have to get a permit from the town?
We can, if she doesn't have a permit for filling, you know, and the ULDC requires a permit for filling the pond, then we should check on that.
I mean, in the absence, it would be adopting by reference of the rules or whatever. You can do it that way, I mean, as opposed to setting up a whole bunch of criteria that's our specific criteria.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna establish something like that, for one thing, the town doesn't have any staff that can go out there and evaluate wetlands other than put their foot in and see it. You know, no one knows that this is jurisdictional, this is an exempt agricultural ditch, and all the other exemptions that exist for people to take a pond on their property, et cetera. So, you know, I don't think that the town has, you know, we're telling these gentlemen we don't have money to pave your road, we sure don't have the money to set up an environmental permitting department, when we already have one down the road with a gigantic office and thousands of people on staff. There's no reason for us to duplicate state.
Yeah.
Much as we'd love to be the guy to help you with your problem, I don't know that that's our job. And that's what the town really has to, in my personal opinion, get in focus of what we do, we need to do that. But quit trying to do everybody else's stuff because people can come here and tell us, no disrespect to you, come here and say, please solve my problem. We're not the regulator of each thing, as we're going to get to later tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ron?
Before we became a town, the county allowed ponds to be filled in with certain type of materials. Now, we, as a town, we were gonna take the county's codes and stuff, and either we were gonna live with them as a town, or we were gonna make them better for the residents. But if the county had a standard that they allowed, and I had a neighbor that filled a pond in, and the county was out inspecting it before we become a town. They had some problems with some of the stuff that went in the pond. He had to remove it and take it off his property. Now, how would that have changed since because we got a lot of ponds in Loxahatchee, and a lot of the questions, sometimes would like to fill, a lot of people would like to fill a pond in because real estate is worth more than a hole in the ground with water in it. So when people start filling these ponds in, we need to either continue with the county standards that put restrictions on what you can put in that hole. And, I don't know if you're allowed to put muck in it. It looks like this is either muck or shavings or something that is very soft that will never get hard.
Can't put organic stuff in.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is the county had a standard. We need to check with the county, and that should have stayed in we shouldn't have done away with it now.
I don't, excuse me, I don't think we have done away with any standard. I'll talk to the town attorney. I would think that in the absence of no standard that we have in our current code, we may be able to rely on the county's code. And if that is the case, then we can probably have, if there needs to be a review, it could be handled appropriate staff-wise, whether it's town engineer or whatever, depending on what the particulars of that current situation is and how detailed it is. So I'll talk with Mr. Cirillo and see what the proper procedure would be. We might be able, the Vice Mayor is correct, we might be able to use the county standards.
Okay, all right, so we check on that for this gentleman. All right, I've got several, Lee and Lou Westbrook, and they want this read into the record. It says, we support the paving of Collecting Canal Road, too much dust and cut through traffic. Robert and Connie Reeves, Collecting Canal Road needs to be paved, health problems, please read our email. They've got an email here. Our family never had such allergy and now asthma problems. My cough at work so bad. And they're talking about the traffic and the dust and everything else on it. We've got Janet Gordon. I support the paving and speed bumps tables of Collecting Canal Road to be reinstated back into budget. Robert Menelas, please read the supporting email on the paving of Collecting Canal Road. He lives on Quail Drive. His driveway access to Collecting Canal. We fully support the paving of Collecting Canal Road, as all these properties depend on access from Collecting Canal Road and all our tenants, and my family have expressed their desire to see the road paved. I fully agree that with the event of the new Palm Beach State College and other proposed development, road traffic will inevitably increase. Another factor to consider is that paving would reduce water control, Loxahatchee Water Control District annual expenses on grading and maintaining. We've got Edward Dunn. I support the paving with speed humps to be put back on the budget for 2014-2015. I've got Victor Lito. I support paving Collecting Canal Road. We don't need the dust and cut through traffic with college. Brad Ray, Southern Palm Bed and Breakfast on C Road, support paving and reinstating of Collecting Canal Road on the new budget. Ruth Minner, I support paving on Collecting Canal Road with speed bumps to slow the traffic down. That's Ruth Minner from Vince Ramos. We've got Marge Herzog, I support the paving of Collecting Canal Road. All these have marked, they want it read in. Arlene Valencia, we support the paving of Loxahatchee Road, ROPA Road, I guess, I don't know. Ann and Bill Parker, we support the paving of Collecting Canal Road. Ariel and Marie Rita, we support the paving of Collecting Canal Road. Julia Jeske, Collecting Canal Road needs to be paved now, too many problems in dust. Jeff and Mary Miller, we support the paving of Collecting Canal Road with humps and reinstating it into the new budget. Too much dust, speed, and accidents now. Chris Schwartzwalder, I moved here when the roads were dirt. Now I've changed my mind and I now support the paving of Collecting Canal. Julian Plant, I support the paving of Collecting Canal Road. Too much dust now. Frank Granado, I support the paving of Collecting Canal. And okay, Virginia, public comments. I guess this is public comments. You wish to speak? Come on up.
Virginia Stanch, 15410 North Road. It's wonderful everyone supports the paving for Collecting Canal. Unfortunately, we have not found a vendor that can do a good job paving the roads. So while everyone's willing to have their road paved, I would encourage the town council to find a vendor that can do a much better job than what was recently done in the community. Thank you.
Okay, then I've got one more. Dr. Howard and Gazella. Pepper the Kemper.
Forget the P.
Good. We support the paving, health permitting. Okay. That's all I've got for the public comments. Moving to, yeah, Ken?
I have one up there somewhere. Sure, man. Do you support it, then?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Well,
Hang on.
come on up.
Okay, thank you.
There it is. Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Ken Johnson.
There's one pass out for each of you up there. That should have been with it.
Yeah, it went around.
Did it go around?
Low comments.
I got one page on yours.
There should have been one for each of you.
Oh, help.
Help. It says help on the top of it.
Okay.
But go ahead.
First of all, on Ken Johnson Collecting Canal Road, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for giving me the opportunity to talk about this subject a little bit. First thing I think you need to think about is putting yourselves in the shoes of the residents that live on Collecting Canal. It's evident that from the responses that you have just read, that we've got a problem. The town has got a problem. The people that live on that road have got a problem. And it's a health problem, and it's a safety problem. We talked about realistic estimates. I think there are some realistic estimates out there that are much more realistic than were on the budget that the Finance Committee initially looked at. And I think that one of your council members is going to present that information. The safety issues mainly are speeding. We don't mind the cut-through traffic if it's at a reasonable rate and it's slowed down so that all of us can live with it. But that's not what the case is right now. With the advent of the college coming, of which I'm in support of, and quite a few of you are too, the speeding is immense on that road. The accidents, I mean, how many people have had their fences torn down? Let's see it. Right here in this room, we've got people who have had their fences torn down. And they have to go out there and repair it themselves. Nobody else will do it for them. The accidents that are going to happen, the cut-through traffic is going to be immense once the college comes online. The cut-through traffic right now, the cut-through traffic right now is bad. The dust is bad. People have got breathing problems. The Reeves that you've just read had to move away from this community because of the breathing problems with the dust. So we've got a couple of big issues that we need to solve. The only thing we're asking is that the item be put back and reinstated on the upcoming budget. It was scheduled 2 or 3 years ago and just kept going down the line. Nothing really got done on it. But we're asking that it be put back on the budget and you give it some fair consideration to try to accomplish and help the residents on Collecting Canal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Tom McClendon?
Tom McClendon, D Road. Either I'm confused or some of these people are confused. Maybe you guys can clear it up for me. Who's responsible for Collecting Canal? The Water Control District or the town? I'd like to hear clarity from you guys. Who's responsible for that? That's number one. Number two, some of these people think that all the roads that got paved in the town were paid for by the town. The majority of the roads that have been paid for by the town, that paved in the town so far, the residents have paid for. I'm curious if all those comment cards that are up there that are in support of the paving, are they in support of free paving, or are they in support of paving the road and paying for it, like most everyone else did? And if they are, the Water Control District can tell them how to go about getting a petition around. You vote and you pay for the road, and I'm sure everybody will be in support of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. I've got,
I had a question.
Ariel.
I had an answer.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Well, first of all, the maintenance of Collecting Canal is done by the Water Control District. If we pave that road, the ownership becomes the town. And if we pave that road with gas tax money, which we've been getting for that road, then it'll be a paved road belonging to the town. Anytime the Water Control District or anybody paves the road, town gains ownership, so no,
But to answer his question, right now, it's a water district road. And Todd is right, both of us live on North Key Road. We both pay every year, for the paving of our road. I voted against it, but the majority voted for it, I pay for it. So, and one of the things we're just gonna have to understand, and this is what I think we're beginning to realize, is there's a lot of roads in Loxahatchee Groves that are not paved. And again, there's not enough money in the budget to pave all of them. There's not enough. And so how do we pick and choose which ones get paved? Maybe what we need to do is do a referendum, Loxahatchee Groves wide, vote on doing the roads, figure out what it's going to cost, and add that to our taxes. And that would be the fairest way, because, and let the people, because I'm thinking of, I don't think B Road North is Ojum. I don't think E Road North is Ojum. I don't think C Road South is Ojum.
Yes, it is.
Is it C?
No, it's in front of my house and it's not.
Okay. Is B South? B South is the one that's coming to the college. E Road South is not Ojum. A Road North, I don't think is Ojum.
North is
South is not.
Okay, South is not. South A Road is not. So all these roads are going to have exactly the same argument. Yeah, the college is going to change A Road, where Marge lives, because, there's a funny thing. If you get B Road, Ojum, or speed humps, and the college and the other owners are going to pay for that, where's the traffic going to come? Well, they're going to come down A Road. So all of a sudden, the patterns change. So it's something that we're going to have to figure out and we're going to have to deal with. So if everybody's willing to pay their share, I think we can come up with something that we can do it. Right now, Collecting Canal is a district road, not a town road. So anyway, we've got...
One thing before we go there. I heard the argument, but I remember when we were talking about how great the college was going to be, not how much it was going to cost us. Okay, and everybody was really gung-ho, bring it on, bring it on. Well, now it's going to cost us $500,000 by some little estimate I see that doesn't even include the water management district putting rock down for months. The road's not ready to be paved. It's not, unless you just want the kind of crappy job that was done on Compton. You want a real road. It's not just as easy as just put blacktop over what's there. You got to do a lot of work. You got to straighten it out. You got to move hedges out of the way, because a lot of places the road's real tiny and skinny. That's not how it's supposed to be. So if we're going to go through all that expense, it's more than just a fly-by-night job like was done on the 3 roads recently. And we got all bent out of shape before about how much engineering might cost to do it right. Do y'all want it right, or you just want it fly-by-night? I can't go into asking all 35 people who want to pay. But the point is, as the mayor said, it's a town-wide thing. We need to decide, do we want to be everything paved, or we want to go with the deal that we've had going on? Seems like the forces that want to see things paved never are done. Once they got to the point where all the roads that wanted to be paved agreed to it and said they'd pay, now all of a sudden they want everybody else to pay the deal. I'm happy with the way it is. There's plenty of folks that are.
Okay, I've got Ariel Rita.
Yes, Mayor. Hello. I live right on Collecting Canal Road, 12891, and I only been living there since 2006. But in that short period of time, I had several incidents happen. One, I had a pet, a dog, that escaped my property, and unfortunately, it had an accident and it died right on that road. And it was a hit and run, and I still don't know who the man is. So I would definitely like to see that happening, obviously for safety reasons. And also, as well as, I also had a friend who was leaving my property with his car, and as I was walking into my house, I hear a big bang, and I walked out, and there was a car accident right there. And the reason why is because the person driving on Collecting Canal, he was heading east, and he was going tremendously too fast because there was skid marks well over 15 meters on Collecting Canal. He was a pizza delivery man. And I know if it was paved, he wouldn't be going too fast because of the humps, and as well as he could have stopped a lot sooner because it was paid. And I don't know how none of this works. This is the first time I ever been to a meeting like this. But I'm definitely concerned and aware, and it seems to me a big problem is this budget thing, and obviously that's money. And I'm willing to contribute whatever I can, and if it takes, whether it's a fundraiser or something, I know there's, you know. Well, I mean, if anything helps. I know there's some people here that would help support me and I would get some things done like that. And I'm willing to do whatever I can on my part to help see that happen.
Thank you. And John Ryan?
John Ryan, 508 A Road. My wife's not here tonight, but I remember at one of the meetings earlier, she mentioned that the DAC committee felt that the town council really needed to consider a policy on how to fund roads, how to share the cost with residents through some of the town money. And ultimately, she mentioned to me, and I can't remember whether this was already previously discussed, that it would probably be good to have a referendum on the policy, and the referendum would need to include the ability under the town charter for the town to borrow money. Because as you know, the district in funding the cost of the Ocean roads, while it's passed on to the affected residents, it was based on borrowing money right at 3% over 10 years. And it does have some benefits in terms of being actually a lower cost to the residents, because that money is an assessment from the water control district, just like your mortgage payment. But instead of just being able to deduct interest, you deduct the whole thing because it's an acre assessment. So it is a cost-effective way to finance it, but under the current town charter, they can't borrow money. And I think any policy really ought not to be based on just taking all the money out of the current town budget and the town bank balance, but on funding it economically and getting the best benefit to the residents that would be sharing the cost of it.
Thank you, John. All right, moving on to four. Yeah, Ron.
I'll finish up with this. The one thing I think Ken and the rest of the residents is looking for, first of all, we couldn't do anything this year, but this was put into the capital improvement budget by this council. All right, now I don't remember the council directing that it be taken out of the budget. I know the FACT committee, and I know we've talked about getting a policy on roads and stuff like that, and there's nothing to stop us from coming up with a policy. But when this council voted on collecting canal, or we agreed on it, first of all, was when we agreed to do North Road. Now, I realize there's a couple people didn't want to do North Road. But the consensus, we ended up doing North Road from A Road to E Road. And everybody is very happy. All right. At the same time, Tom said, well, if we're going to do North Road, let's do collecting canal. And my justification for doing North Road and collecting canal, if we stay with the policy that we have now where people have to pay for it, and I disagree with that. I think we can get a loan. I think there's numerous ways, grants, but we seem to have a problem of getting this put on a referendum for the people of Waxahachie Groves to vote and tell us that they want the roads paved, all right, the majority rules, and then if they do vote at a referendum, and I would like to see it this year, not 2 or 3 years from now, because the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost, no matter who does it. Management has told me before there's 50 people out there, people out there that does roads and stuff, okay? Well, we seem to have a hard time getting those 50 people to come and give us do our RFPs and stuff. But the main concern of the residents, we shouldn't have never taken this off capital improvements, okay? Whether we pave it or not is beside the point. We're definitely not going to do it during hurricane season, and we won't have time this year. But I would like to see it put back on capital improvements, and we had 900,000 set aside for collecting canal. We had 300,000 set aside for D Road. If you want to be fair about it, let's don't put that much down. All right, I think those were outrageous prices, and just comparing F Road, which was recently done, to D Road, same length, it cost $106,000 when we had $136,000 set aside for that road. And in the contract, it stated if it costs more, then the contractor would have to pay more, but it ended up costing less. So what I'm asking as a council member is for us to put it back into the capital improvement program. We've taken away the road capital improvement, and we've doubled the equestrian trails improvement. Now, I would like to see trails in Loxahatchee, but roads and drainage is my priority. We have to drive on those roads every day. The recreation trails are strictly for recreation if we have time to enjoy them. So if we could come, while we're doing this budget, if we could come to a consensus that instead of 900,000 for collecting canal, let's put 600,000 in for collecting canal. Instead of 300,000 for D road, let's put 175,000 or half that, 150,000. But let's put something in the capital improvement for these roads. And while we're trying to come up with a road policy, we've been talking about road policies for years now. We just passed legislation that the town can pave a dirt road, and when we pave it, it becomes ours. And when the district paves the road, it automatically becomes the town. We take ownership on it, but that's what the legislation was all about. And Keith talks about different ways to do this. We did a lot of research on these roads. OJM is the best way and the cheapest way. Indian Trail tried numerous ways: concrete chipping, pavement chipping, all kinds of stuff. They've gone back to OJM, okay, because it didn't work. Now, you say we got problems with the roads we got. Well, D road, if you got problems with D road, it's not because of the stuff they put down on the road, Mr. Mayor. It's because we're not taking care of the side like we're supposed to. It's holding water, and the contractor has always said, we've had 2 different contractors come in Loxahatchee. These roads will not hold up if we don't keep the water off of them. All right, now the district is working on that solution. They're going to buy an attachment to the dump truck so that they can take care of the edge of the road and either put rock or put something down that will keep the water off the road and allow it to drain at the same time. The other thing the district has been working on in the last year is they're putting basins in. A lot of you see these new basins on the side of the road. They're being put in to allow the drainage off the road into the canal. So what I'm looking for is this council agreed at one time to set collecting canal, and we agreed on D road because of the situation with the red light. Okay, this council agreed that the state will not even think about putting a red light at D road in Southern, butting up against a dirt road. And D road is our main street no matter which way you look at it. And the other reason for collecting canal was we have an equestrian trail. Basically, the foundation of our equestrian trail is around the square of Loxahatchee. Up A Road to 6th Court North, over to F Road, and then back north to North Road. All right, you got Vince Ramos Center. Those people get abused by the cut-through traffic and stuff flying up and down these roads. So no, if we don't do anything, at least let's put it back into the budget and get some prices and stuff and put the drainage in that we need ahead of time. You don't have to wait on the paved road to put these basins and stuff in. We can do that ahead of time. But at least let's put something in the budget so that we don't renege on what we told the people we were going to do. Thank you.
All right. A lot of time spent on public comments. But we want to hear. But anyway, it's not an agenda item. But thank you for your comments.
If I could make a comment that this entire conversation was not germane to this evening's topic. The topic for the capital improvement budget is to be scheduled going forward, and to waste an hour on it tonight is just an attempt to hijack, our time, which was supposed to be spent on the general fund budget. Instead, we just had a diatribe by people who'd like us to pay the road for them for free. As I've said before, there's plenty of people who'd like that to happen. If we want to have an agenda, if we want to have a referendum, let's put it on to discuss it in October. Let's decide right now, let's talk about a referendum, and then the referendum will be here for the election. It'll be awesome. And we can do that. Let's just
Are they all right with that?
Yeah, I'll see this put on the next agenda. I'll be glad to do that.
Yeah, put
Instead
it
of
on
wait till
in October. No, we got the budget to talk about. Let's not hijack it and
If you want to talk about a referendum, you want to talk about it, one month ain't gonna make the difference. I'm gonna vote for the referendum, trust me.
All right, moving to 4. We're gonna go for 4B first. Got Wayne Burns.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, gentlemen of the council. Thank you for giving me time to speak with you this evening. I know that your time is precious, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. But I wanted to bring to your attention an update on what's going on with our Chamber of Commerce building, which is at the corner of Southern Boulevard, northwest corner of Southern and Big Blue Trace. Our Chamber of Commerce, when I became CEO in November, was basically wrapped up in doing a lot of large-scale events. Since that time, our Chamber of Commerce has evolved, and we're now more focused on business-to-business and business-to-community services. And what that's done is it's allowed us to streamline our business model. We have a lot fewer staff than we've had before, and because of that, we have a lot less need for space than the Chamber needed when it first built that building in 2010. And so what I wanted to share with you this evening, I think there's an opportunity here to consider that because we are in Waxahachie Groves, we are located on the prime corner within the town, that there may be an opportunity here to occupy some or all of that space for the town staff and administration and give you an opportunity to have both a town meeting space as well as administrative offices and a public space with ample paved parking already in place and surrounded by a park and park trails that the residents currently enjoy using. So I brought with me, if I may, Mr. Mayor, approach with your permission, I've got a printed file that gives some of the statistics about the building and also some photographs, and I can just briefly share with you some of those statistics, and then I'll be glad to take some questions. May I?
Yes. Someone make a motion to receive and file.
Make a motion to receive and file.
Second. A motion to receive and file, second. Discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
So what you have in front of you is the cover page. This was actually an appraisal that was done in March. And I thought this was the most appropriate way to share with you some of the details. These are excerpts from the appraisal. The inside cover of the appraisal gives just some of the basic details of the building. The building is close to 4,000 square feet. It's listed in very good condition. I asked the question what the difference was between very good and excellent. It basically was interior painting. The building, again, is new, and it sits on a large paved piece of property that's ideally located. If you look at the next page, you can see the maps. I know you're well familiar with where it's located. But if you turn inward to page 10, the numbers of the page are on the bottom. And then page 11. Page 11 shows a front view. Again, the numbers are on the bottom. The top of page 11 shows a front view of the building. As you can see, it presents itself beautifully well. The facade for the front of the building and the surrounding area of the building was specifically designed to meet the image and the appearance that would be acceptable to the town of Waxahachie Groves. And as you go through this packet on page 13 at the bottom, you can see the interior. There's a front lobby area with restrooms, a front reception counter, water fountain, and as you continue to go through, there's bathrooms that will be there for both staff and public use, and then there's plenty of administrative office space within the building. So what I was hoping to do this evening is share with you the change of the chamber, that we now have the need for less space. There's an opportunity for the town to maybe consider, again, part of all of this in a lease or rental situation. And I was hoping to ask your permission and direction to at least be able to meet with your town manager to offer some proposal alternatives for Mr. Mayor, you and the council to consider as potential options for you to be able to consolidate your staff administration, your town council meetings, potentially utilize some or all the space of that building.
What are your thoughts? I mean, it all comes down to dollars.
Sure.
Honestly, what we rent our space for, what we would rent or lease your space for, that's what we're looking at. So, I think I speak for the rest of the council, we're looking out for the tax money, our tax money. So, that's what we're looking at. Comments?
Anybody want to go first? 4,000 square feet. Some people have made comments that's too much for us. I think it's at a beautiful location. It's right across from a brand new medical plaza. Some people have said not enough parking. I don't think parking would be a problem because first of all, the county owns the property around it. If we needed more parking space, I believe they would allow us to make a bigger parking lot. Worst scenario is our meetings are held at night, some on weekends. You got the medical plaza right across the street. We could park over there, walk over to the hall. I like the idea. I know what, I won't say in front of the people, but I know what that place cost you, okay? And I know that most of the work and stuff was done by volunteers. In other words, it would have cost you a whole lot more if you hadn't had people, contractors, different people volunteering their equipment and their time. And what you guys, I believe, will be asking for it is a real good deal as far as I'm concerned. Now, what I would look at as a town, while the people think about it, while the town, I would definitely like for us to have a consensus that you get with Mark, to give us all the possible ways that we could work something out. I would like to see us go with a lease with an option to buy, okay? And that way it gives us, for whatever money we put into it, leasing it per month, will go into the cost of it. I believe that this town can afford it, and I'm not talking about paying one lump sum, I'm talking about, and I believe that the chamber would work with us to where we could pay so much down, we could pay so much a year, but that's where we have to solve the problem we have right now with borrowing money. And that's why we need to get that on we need to change our charter, we need to get a referendum going as soon as possible. But at least with the option of I would be a start that you would kind of be obligated to give us the first chance at it. The security reasons, we don't have any security over here at this plaza. It's some days there's some nasty things happening over there, some days there's nobody over there, but we do not have any security whatsoever. Anybody that has an office that adjoins our office, they basically have access to anything we've got. I don't like that. Now, but we haven't found anything more, better than what we've got right now. I think if we take the money that we do pay on a monthly basis, and one comment was made, we just put a lot of work into it, $3,000 and upgrading that so that we would have more offices. Well, that's fine and dandy, but if we can get into a secure place, that money doesn't mean that much. Now, I believe that, I don't know the legal aspects of it, but if we had more office space over there than this town could use, I would think by law that we could rent it out or allow somebody else to lease an office. We got people that have real estate offices that live in this town that I think would probably love to. And then when people come to do that business or whatever, any type of business, they could communicate with the town. If they had something to do with the town, they could check with the town, do their business. They could walk across the street, go to a medical plaza. There's too many positive things for us to ignore this and drag our feet on it. 2005 it was built, practically a brand new building.
2010, Vice Mayor.
Oh, 2010, 5 years old, okay, 2010. I believe that, I'm not sure, but I'd have to say the Landowners Association had something to do with the style of the building and the way it looks and stuff. And I think it's a nice looking building. I think it fits in the Loxahatchee very well. And I think it is convenient for people to come in and get to. Coming in this plaza here, especially when they do the 6 lanes, you come up here and do town business, you're down on with your life, and it's as simple as that. So no, I would definitely hope the council would have a consensus to let you get with Mark, come back with a lease option buy, down payment, so much, in other words, stuff like that. While we check with the county at the same time and find out that I know you're leasing the property from the county for $1 a year.
Yes, sir.
That sounds good to me. I would hope we could keep a good relationship with the county as far as that goes, and if we didn't need property, then we lease it. You're a nonprofit organization, you don't pay taxes, the town does not pay taxes, so there's a lot of, the maintenance cost supposedly is around $1,000 a year, and I'm assuming that's just with the building, since you don't have nothing but parking lot and building. So I don't see any negative things for us latching on to this. This year, some people want us to 4,000 square feet. Some people want us to add on to this, build a new building here, or whatever. All right? The mayor, I'm not going to ask him now, but the mayor knows how much it costs as a square foot to build and construct a new building. And 4,000 square feet is going to cost more than what we would have to give for that building. That should be, as far as hurricanes and stuff, that should be way ahead of the game for this building. If we had that as a town hall and we had a major hurricane, the odds of taking both locations down at the same time would be very hard. And this year, I definitely wouldn't want to be here in a hurricane. After the hurricane's over with, we're sure there's not another one behind it, then and it's still standing, we can come here, wallow through the mud and stuff, and come in here and try and get our stuff together. But everything we need is in that building. So no, I like the idea, and I would hope that we got enough common sense to move ahead, and when we have the opportunity to get a good deal on something like that, we would take it.
Mr. Mayor, I would support further conversations between Mark and the Chamber. However, I would not support a referendum that allows us to borrow money to build roads, town halls, and just everything willy-nilly. I think if we're going to have referendums, there needs to be a referendum on the roads, there needs to be a referendum on the building, because if I was trying to get either one of them passed, I think the odds of both of them passing are not that great. So if you want to destroy the roads, hook it up with this building, you'd succeed in not passing the first referendum. So, just my thoughts.
Okay, any other
But
questions?
it is interesting how government light so quickly fades away. Because we'll fill the building. If there's no space, don't worry about it, we'll fill it up. No problem.
Mr. Mayor, I would
It's the environmental department that's going to do the ponds.
I support the, I guess, getting the town manager and see what we can come up with the chamber come up with, and what the town management can package for us to consider.
Okay. Right?
Yeah, I'd also be interested in continuing the dialogue with the chamber and staff, and yeah, we can go from there.
Great. Mr. Mayor, if I may just offer one more thing, a couple of comments that were made. Depending on what the legalities are in terms of the city's charter, yes, we would even be willing to be an entity that you can lease space back to. So if you want to lease the space, rent, own, if you will, lease and own. We have a small staff now, and we probably occupy maybe a couple offices in the building. There's even a corridor design where you can actually put up just a small drywall with a door and secure the rest of the city administration off and away from those two offices on the hallway. So we can actually lease back some of that space. Additionally, because one way or another, we're doing something with the building, we've come to the city, town of Wasatch Groves first, with the idea that we think it's the most ideal, not just because we think that it is secure, it is paved, it provides ample space for the things that you want to do, and it is newer, so it does have some storm resistance built in that maybe some of your other facilities don't. Your townspeople enjoy coming there. It also serves as a welcome center. So we have a lot of people who stop in, who ask where they can go horseback ride for the day, or they ask about what's going on in the agricultural area and what they can go see and do. So it's got that welcome center space and that great spot on the corner. So from our position, we'd be willing to try to do anything we can, because we are going to do some of the space either way to make it so it accommodates the town of Wasatch Groves.
Okay. And the only comment I've got is I really don't know how well it fits with what we need, but I'm open to opening the dialogue up with our staff and see what happens.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one question. Here. What's the rating on the building when it comes to hurricane rating?
That's a good question, I don't know. I do know that we went through extensive permitting in 2010 to meet the highest standards of requirements for the county. And there were some additional things considered to increase its capability withstanding storm. And to some of the comments that were just made, we actually had a number of private and corporate donors that also helped to put up funding. As was pointed out, that building could not be rebuilt at a price today that the town would be able to afford, even if you built it at half the size. So it's a considerable structure, and so it was designed to the current codes in 2010.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got several public comments. I've got Keith Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So may I ask, may I continue the conversation then? I don't know if you get a vote or and, talk to the town manager?
Yeah, what we'll do is if we're in consensus here,
Okay,
if we
great.
need a motion, we'll do that, and then you'll be able to meet with him.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Keith.
Yes, Keith Harris, 2580 Sea Road. Gentlemen, I think it was a very good consensus to consider this, to look into it further. The building, being 4 years old, will have minor upkeep for a few years, except for paint jobs, occasional circuit breaker, toilet going on. Please don't put U-Haul in there. There's other needs for rooms other than commercial businesses in our town hall. But one thing I wanted to bring up for your consideration, the property being the county's leasing it $1 a year is a good thing. You might want to see if the town of Loxahatchee Roads can gain control of Loxahatchee Park. Reason being, right now, it's a soccer field for Wellington. Mr. Barry, yourself have said, we don't know, it's wasted dollars. All we have to do is go in our yard. But if you recall, in 2007, there was a resolution 007, town wanted an equestrian facility. You take that park and you put in a summer facility like what they have in Acreage, a couple riding rings, show rings, a little bit of parking, which you already have. It's going to be a jewel for this town building. It's going to be a jewel. It's going to attract people being right here on Southern Boulevard. It's going to bring residents, new residents to the town. It's going to raise our property values in the town. It's worth looking into, not only the building, but also gaining the park and becoming part of the town of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Christine St. John, she requests that this be read into the record, and it's regarding the current Central Palm Beach County Chamber of Commerce building as a possible town hall. I'm against this idea. According to the Palm Beach County Tax Preparer's website, the building is approximately twice as large as the Loxahatchee Groves Water Control Board District. There's a lot of wasted space in the Chamber of Commerce building. The reception area is wasted space. The space to the left upon entry is not much bigger than the space available currently to use in this for public meetings. There's no dais in the room, another added cost. Why would we need a kitchen? There appears to be 30 parking spaces. The usual attendees to a town council meeting are 5 council members. She's got it down to 20. This brings the parking spaces available to the public down to 20. This is inadequate. The additional cost to add more spaces must be considered. Approximately $3,000 was recently spent for upgrades to the current town offices. This should be considered an additional cost in the purchase of the CNC building. Loxahatchee Groves Water Control Board is absorbed into the town as a public works department. Is the Chamber of Commerce building large enough to handle the additional personnel? Where would their heavy equipment be stored? Parking space, again, is inadequate. If not, and the public works personnel and heavy equipment remain at the current building, additional funds will be needed to operate and maintain that building and maintenance shed. The Chamber of Commerce building, if purchased by someone other than the town, would bring in much needed revenue. Please realize the percentage of our total budget that the purchase price of the Chamber of Commerce building is. The town should not and cannot afford to speculate on real estate. John Ryan, then I've got Birch.
Mr. Mayor, I gave you my card before the Vice Mayor mentioned the dollar lease. I had recalled that, and I felt that was just something that if we could confirm that that would be available from the county, that that would be a big plus in any offer that
Okay.
could be made.
Okay, Marge Herzog.
Marty Herzog, A Road. I had an opportunity to look over part of the lease that the chamber has with the county. And on page 5, there's a surrender of premises. Are they going to surrender the building to us? I wasn't quite clear what direction you're asking the manager to go in. And then on page 9 of their agreement, the assignment or subletting, only the county commission can give permission for them to do that. You know, and if you're purchasing this leased building, you're not purchasing the land because that's all part of the park. You're only getting the building, so where's it gonna go if, you know, the county terminates your lease?
Right, all that would have to be, that's preliminary, but good comments.
Yeah, I have a copy of the agreement dated 02 if you want it. It was renewed in 2012.
I think it'd be a good thing for Mark to get in his talking with them. So thank you, Mark.
Mr. Mayor, I would think that in the negotiations, we would want to ask the county to turn over at least that portion of the land, but I do like Keith's idea of having them turn over the whole park, as you've said in the past. I don't think that the upkeep would be what we have built in the past, with a change in the configuration, and maybe, you know, as he said, I think it'd be great for people to see that. For one thing, it would really showcase the equestrian aspect of Loxahatchee Groves to have that right on Southern Boulevard.
Okay, anybody else? The only concern I've got along that is I remember hearing at one time that the county spent $100,000 a year maintaining that park. And, you know, so that would be something we gotta be careful about. We don't spend without getting something back for that park, but it surprises me too. But anyway, to get it for equestrian, I think that would be a great thing. What it's used for right now, as I said before, really doesn't help the residents of Loxahatchee Groves. We've got it in our backyard. All right, I'll entertain a motion to let Mark meet with them on this, or can we do it by consensus?
It sounded like there was consensus in your
Consensus, everybody's all right?
It's a preliminary conversation.
Okay, good deal. Moving to 4A, and this is the budget. Bill?
Yes, sir, Mayor. We're here tonight, focus is the general fund, what we have received in the package, and it was passed out on your rostrum this evening. A change in the statement of estimated change of fund balance. Councilman Rocket pointed out an error in the general fund which has been corrected. And I made other changes to reflect commission action relative to various fund balances. As you can see, general fund, at the end of 2015, it's estimated that if we do go the way we're going to go, we keep the reserve, we will have about $810,000 available as unassigned fund balance. Transportation fund is a different story. We are spending that down fairly quickly. And at the end of 2015, we expect to have in the neighborhood of $254,000. Solid waste fund, at the end of 14, we were going to be at about $1,200 for the good. With the proposal that the commission approved, we're going to be 13.7 negative, that's unassigned fund balance. And then, of course, you've got the $1 million remaining in the capital improvement fund. But that discussion is for later. With the general fund, on the revenues, we've recalculated revenues based on the last commission action. We increased the ad valorem taxes using the millage at 1.5 mil, which actually generated increase in millage the dollar value of about $44,789. That money was basically dropped into contingency. There were a couple of other minor increases. There was a decrease in the legal fees. We reduced that by $30,000. And contingency went from $153 to $45,641. The total budget is $1,161,571, which is up from the current year budget of 1.096. So you do have a slight increase of about $70,000. Those are the highlights of the general fund budget. We can go into detail because what we do in order to prepare the budget for you is actually give you supplemental sheets which detail line items for everything. It's a zero-based budgeting for purposes of developing the budget. We've given you the general fund revenues. I don't have a particular page. 1775 is where you may want to start. Try to reflect changes as we go through. And ready to start with the ad valorem taxes or whichever one you like to start with, Mayor.
Okay. Any preference? No?
Well,
Yeah.
the ad valorem tax number is the 1.5 as we changed it at the last meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's fairly understood. We get to the next one, which is the utility tax.
Yes.
And I see that we're using the prior year's estimate, and I was wondering how that collection is trending relative to the previous year.
It's actually, we should hit that 203,000. You might even be a little bit above. The way the FPL contract comes in, it is always at least 1 month behind. So if we extend that out, we ought to hit that 203,000 for this year. Communication services tax, however, we use the state estimate on that. They have been wrong the last 3 years, and they're wrong again this year. In 14, it looks like we're going to be down about $25,000 for the current year. And for next year, we have estimated that at 105,000. At the rate we're going, I don't know if that is realistic or not. It looks like this current year is going to be about $30,000 less. We've already adjusted it downward. So we're going to probably recommend before the end of the year we adjust it downward again.
So would you recommend that we maybe adjust this downward at this point here, just to make up for?
It's a big hit, $30,000. That consumes almost all of your ad valorem tax increase.
I understand that, but I'm trying to say that this.
I would not discourage the commission's consideration in reducing it. I can tell you that we use the state estimated revenue. They have a lot of economists